If you've clicked on this video, it's because you want to know what is the most requested house that we get asked about and searched for out there, and it's only getting more and more in demand. Stay tuned because we're getting after it right now.
If this is your first time to the channel and you want to know everything there is to know about living in the greater Portland metro area, do a little dance, click the subscribe button, tap the notification bell so that you can be the first to know about everything there is to know about living in this great area.
I'm Ann Stewart and this is Erica Hagfirst. We are your go-to gals if you're planning on making the move in and around the Portland metro area. And don't be shy. All of our contact information is listed below. We love getting reach outs, whether text, email, or phone calls. We're here for you if you're planning on making a move to the Portland metro area. So what is the most requested house? By far, above and beyond any other type of house that we get, and it's been happening for a few years, and it's only getting more and more and more. What is it, Erica?
It's a one-level home.
One level
home.
Main level living.
Who would have thought that these things would be I mean, they're like unicorns.
Yeah.
I mean,
they really are.
If you can find a good, solid, like, well-sized one-level home on a decent lot, man, those things are absolutely unicorns. They will sell in a heartbeat, usually over list. Every single time. And
they usually comp out much higher than their two-story counterparts. So if you're looking for a main level or one level living, be prepared to pay extra for it because they're in such demand. They're in a class of their own. And
especially if it's a more modern style home
or
something that has like the vaulted ceilings or higher ceilings. You know, I just went through this with a couple of buyers and the one level home on a good size lot, we're talking, you know, maybe a third to small acreage. Man, those things are just ridiculous. You're waiting months for them to come onto the market and then they sell within a heartbeat. I mean, we probably wrote a couple offers and every single time it was like, we've got offers already, and you're like, it's been on the market for 2 hours. And, you know, I mean, they're selling for well over list price. And these are not cheap homes, you know? So just realize, I mean, you know, there's a population that's ready for this type of home.
Yeah, and that's really the first thing we want to point out is that baby boomers, 10,000 of them are retiring every week, maybe more at this point. That stat was back in 2017. But the reality is there's a lot of people who are going to be looking to either downsize their big house down to their little one. They're realizing they don't need the big house anymore. Kids have moved out and moved on. Or they're having maybe some health issues, or they're looking ahead and saying, hey, in the next 10 years, I don't want to be climbing these stairs. I don't want to be managing this double-story, three-story house.
Yeah, so, I mean, there's actually a couple of groups that are, you know, the baby boomers, you know, maybe people who are disabled or have some sort of health concern and can't do stairs or, you know, any of that kind of sort of stuff. And then you also have the people who want to age in place. So maybe they're not quite there yet, but they're like, we want to find our home that we're going to be able to be in for an extended period of time. And we don't want to move again, so we're going to plan ahead and make sure that we have a one-level home. And it just, you know, we see it day in and day out. Like, everybody's like, oh, it'd be great if it was a one level. And we're like, you're right, it would be great. But we just don't have a lot of those. And especially in the more modern, newer build, because, you know, I'm a big fan of older homes, but with older homes, there are certain things that you don't get. You don't get vaulted ceilings generally. You don't get higher ceilings. And so, you know, if you want that newer feel, definitely going to be harder to find, and you're going to pay a premium for it.
Yeah, and we also find a lot of our aging clients, they think that there's going to be a lot to choose from when they get out there looking. And I can recall a client that, you know, she was amazed that her price point, which was a healthy price point in the Portland area, there were few and far between one levels, and this gal didn't want to do any kind of work or updating, and it was just so difficult to find it. She actually ended up compromising on a 2-story because her search just took so long, and she finally had to make the move up here. But the moral of the story is if you're going to look for a one level, you need to get started now. We don't know when that one level could come up. It could come up tomorrow, or it could take months before it pops up, especially if you're looking for something very specific.
Yeah, I was just gonna say size is another thing, is that, you know, especially we have some one levels, especially in the older homes, you know, the 50s ranches, even some of the 70s homes. But size is going to be something of consideration. I mean, a lot of these homes are under, 1,500 square feet.
Yep.
In Portland, if you can find a true one-level home, a lot of times they're in the low 1,000 square feet. So if you're looking for something that's, 1,500 to 2,500 square feet, especially right around that sweet spot of 2,000, so hard to find in a one-level home.
Yeah.
So definitely keep that in mind. If you know that one level is where you want to be, you got to start that search early and be ready to move, even if it happens sooner than your ideal, because otherwise you just don't know. I mean, I had some buyers again where we found, and to be honest, it wasn't actually a true one level. It had one small little room upstairs, but mostly main level living, 99% of the space. And that thing sold quickly, and they were like, it's okay, because they weren't quite there yet.
I remember this.
And then it took probably a good 4 to 5 months to find the next property.
Yep.
I mean, and that's just, and we were waiting every week. They were ready to jump on planes, and it just took a long time before anything else that came on and that met the needs and the criteria.
Yeah. So if you're going to start that search, you want to do it as early as you possibly can and be ready to go as soon as you can, because like Erica said, it can take some of our clients months, so much longer than they expected. People have this expectation, they're ready to buy, they're not in a hurry, and then they get in looking, they're like, there's just not a lot available. And when something comes up, sometimes you have to fight for it. So
and to be honest, part of the reason they made an offer on this first property, but it was in such demand that you could tell that the other buyer had obviously lost out a few times. They wrote $70,000+ over the list price, and there were only two offers. There was the offer that we submitted, and this other offer is $70,000+.
And that is a sign.
No contingencies.
Yeah. So that's a sign that person was already waiting longer than our buyer. So,
just keep it in the back of your mind.
All right, so we're going to talk about the different types of one levels, because it's important to know, because some people say, oh, well, I'll just go buy a new construction one level if it's going to be that difficult. And new construction has its own challenges, because keep in mind, we don't have a lot of new construction like many other states.
And we don't have a lot of new construction land. We don't have the land to build.
We don't have the land to build. And most builders right now, because they get more bang for their buck, they build 2 stories. They have no desire to build the 1 stories because it takes up a bigger lot.
Yep.
And so if they go in and buy a piece of property they can chop up into 6 different houses, you bet they're going to do a 2-story. Now, we have seen the generational living quarters starting to show up in new construction where, yes, it may be a 2-story new construction property, but they're putting a bedroom and a bathroom on the main level. So they're anticipating that. And really and honestly, the other thing to maybe stay open to is that generational living, because one thing that a lot of people who want the main level living is not just the people downsizing or aging in place, but it's also families who are moving in, mom or dad or both, and they're looking to put them in the house, but they can't put them in a upstairs area. So we're also seeing, hey, Ann and Erica, can you find us a generational living quarter type situation where maybe mom and dad can live on the main level? Maybe they're going to live in the primary suite until they're ready to move on to the next chapter. Maybe they just need a bedroom and bathroom on the main level. But we are starting to see the new construction participating in this, which is great news for generational living. But in the one level world, we're not seeing them go crazy building those. They are building them, but they're just few and far between.
I was gonna say it's very small. I mean, of let's say that there's 50 homes, there may be 2 or 3. The one levels, they're in such high demand and they're getting a great return on their dollar, but it does take up a lot more land, and because you still have to work with your setbacks, and 2,500 square feet split between 2 levels is not a big footprint.
Yeah.
2,500 square feet on one is a big footprint. And that what looks like a decent sized yard is now getting squished to barely a perimeter around the house.
So don't expect a big yard if you're going to buy new construction at all. In fact, there's a new construction-ish site near us right now where they've built some really larger one levels and they sell for well over $1 million, but their counterparts sell for in the 8s.
Yep.
2-story.
And so big difference in terms of what you're paying and what you're kind of getting. I mean, a lot of people think, you pay over $1 million for a one level home, you're going to get something decent, and the house will be okay, but you're not getting much extra outside of that. And then you can buy older one level homes, and this is where another option. If you're not looking for the newer, yes, you can get them at a better price, but a lot of times you're 1,700 square feet and below. Yeah. And you might have a little bit of a funkier floor plan because back in the day we liked separate rooms for everything, and you had your formal dining room and your formal living room. And so it's a different feel to those homes, and you don't know if they've been updated. So there's that aspect that you have to think about. Those you might get the bigger yards. That's the trade-off. Is if that's important to you, and I always say the value's in the land, then you're gonna have the trade-off of you might have to do some updating. You might not get vaulted ceilings. You might not have a 10-foot ceiling in your home. It takes a real progressive back in the 70s to think like, let's put in 10-foot ceilings. Or you may deal with like a sunken living room that you maybe are thinking you have to raise, or you'll have to deal with those 1 or 2 steps. 70s loved their sunken living rooms, and I don't know why, but they did.
Give me a sunken living room. I want to step down, baby.
And that is something else that you may have to, negotiate on, because, again, buyers that I had that wanted this one level home, they wanted nothing. They wanted no stairs at all. And they ended up they have one room in the house. It was the formal living or dining room, actually, that was sunken. And they're like, okay, well, we'll just figure this out. But, there's always going to be compromise. And they had a healthy budget. So it's not budget dependent necessarily. It's really going to be like what, you're looking for. And if you're looking for a one level on acreage of any size, but especially the smaller acreage, which seems a little counterintuitive, be ready to shell out some big old bucks, because you could be easily in the $2 million range. And the reason is those almost have to be custom built, and you're getting them on the flip side. But when I was looking for some previous buyers, they were minimally low $1 million to low $2 million. And that we're talking small acreage. Especially you add a shop into that, man, it's
game over.
Yeah. And they go quick. People are, waiting for this, salivating for this. So just know, if that's what you're looking for, you're like, I want a one level out in the country with a shop, $1 to $2 million.
Yep. Okay, we want to finish off by saying, okay, so there's this huge demand for main level living, primary suites on the main. Sorry, we have to get used to that switch. And one levels. I think what a wise choice is, if you're a first-time home buyer or you're somebody looking to get into a one level, consider buying a cute 1950s, 60s, or 70s, 80s, whatever, one level in a community where maybe you're getting a little bit bigger lot. Yes, it might be outdated, but you can put your own touches on it. And when you update those one levels from those eras of home, they sell like hotcakes. They build a lot of equity for you, and they will always be of value.
Oh yeah,
so
100%.
The strategy for anybody out there looking for the best investment to buy into, I say this all the time when people ask me, like, what's a good buy out there? Like, what's something like you would buy in? I'm like, honestly, it would be a one level that maybe you move into and fix up, or you rent out, and then when you're ready to move into it, you're remodeling it. But something that is a little bit of a diamond in the rough, because as we know, updated one levels go for a pretty penny. They go quick. It's highly competitive. But if you can't compete with that and your budget's lower, then go out and find a really nice one level. They have them in the $500,000 and $600,000 range. They might need a lot of cosmetic love. You might have to add improvements and system updates and so forth. But imagine buying something like that, adding in your own touches, and by the time you go to sell, it'll have tremendous resale value. It'll be highly desirable for a lot more buyers. And in my mind, that's where I see a lot of buyers winning in this market, is they're going in and buying those cute older one levels. Maybe they're, they feel like 1970s or 80s still, or 60s, but people love them. They just love them.
They're absolutely fantastic.
They're usually smaller. They're usually in that 14 to 1600 square foot range, but they have typically big yards. So if you did a nice yard improvement, you put in a fire pit, or you have an overhang that you can use the outdoor area year round, or you just make it really lovely. I'm telling you, that is like the best investment you can do in this marketplace, is have a one level, because they're
always going to be
in desire. Always. It's only going to get worse as our aging population. And to be honest with you, I love a good one level. I have a 2-story house, and I can't wait to downsize to a one level, and that's my game plan. So,
as somebody with a one level.
Yeah, lucky.
To be honest, I've almost always had one levels. I absolutely love them. They're fantastic. Yeah. They're always, like Ann said, you can sell them because there's always going to be somebody who needs the one level home. So just keep that in mind as you're going through. Like Ann said, if you want an investment, the one levels are never going to go out of style.
Never. Well, thanks for joining us on today's video about the most hottest, highest demand property that you can find in the Portland metro area, which are hard to find, but when you find one, they will serve you well in resale and building equity, and the demand will always be there. So if you guys have any comments about this video, maybe you want to add your comments below, or if you want to reach out to us, pick up the phone. All of our contact information is listed below. We'd love to hear from you. If you're thinking about buying a one level, you need to strategize soon because it's going to take a plan and a strategy and your go-to gals to help you find it. All right, we'll see you guys on the next video. Bye.